Ever since I was a kid, I always wished I could have a tree that sprouted roller coasters. If I did, I would have had a giga tree. Unfortunately, this is not something society has invented yet due to its misplaced wishes, so we just have to stick with waiting for people to build our roller coasters for us. So this begs the question, who the heck makes roller coasters? Welcome to Coaster Mania. I'm Micah, and today I'm going to answer this question as thoroughly as possible, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. If you've ever paid closer attention while visiting a theme park, you've most likely noticed that there are a decent variety of styles of track designs present on your favorite coasters. This is one of the easiest ways to spot which company made a specific coaster. Some of these differences are easier to spot than others, so that's when other factors like train design or layout design may come into play to help figure out who made a particular ride. Today, we're going to be focusing on manufacturers that are still around. In a later video, we'll talk about former manufacturers and also the smaller ones. There is a pretty sizable list of manufacturers, so let's get started. Let's start out with arguably one of the most prolific manufacturers currently, BoligerMabelard. This Swiss manufacturer has an interesting history of two men who started out as contractors for Intiman at first and then Giovanola later. They were Walter Boliger and Claude Mabelard, and they founded their company in 1988. Their first official roller coaster was Iron Wolf, located at Six Flags Great America, which opened in 1990. Their work can be seen quite clearly in the earlier Intiman coasters that feature their signature track design. The easiest way to spot a coaster built by BoligerMabelard, or B&M in this case, is the shape of the spine on its track. This track features a very boxy spine
My name is Boxy.
that has angular transitions from piece to piece. The cross ties are in a stretched Y shape, and the rails are tubular. B&M arguably makes some of the most visually distinct track compared to other manufacturers, and so are some of the easiest to spot. These coasters often feature layouts with plenty of inversions. They also have designs such as their Hyper model, which often do not actually feature inversions, but instead have layouts with large camelback hills. Generally speaking, a ride built by B&M is a popular addition for any park due to their high capacity, smooth ride experience, and reliability. These coasters are some of the most reliable out there and often experience very little in the way of downtime. Many B&M coasters feature trains with 4-across seating, allowing for shorter train lengths offering greater capacity. Something else that B&M is known for is their lack of innovation.
How dare you!
Now, this sounds harsh, but it actually isn't. Something that BoligerMabelard does is design a ride model and perfect it. There is not a large amount of variety in the different ride models offered by B&M. Their current offerings include their Hyper model, like Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure, or more recently Candemonium at Hershey Park. There's the Dive model, such as Sheikra at Busch Gardens Tampa, or Valraven at Cedar Point. Arguably, one of B&M's most popular designs is the invert model, such as Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa, or Talon at Dorney Park. Something of note, one of the most commonly cloned layouts by BoligerMabelard is their Batman layout. This started with Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great America. This layout features many tight twists and turns and multiple inversions in a very small package. Moving on, there is the floorless model like Medusa at Six Flags Great Adventure, or Hydra at Dorney Park. Some other notable models would be the wing coasters and flying coasters, like Gatekeeper at Cedar Point, and the flying Superman Ultimate Flight at Six Flags Great Adventure. Their most recent new model is Pipeline the Surf Coaster at SeaWorld Orlando, and is the surfing model, which spells the return of the once common stand-up coaster. Other notable coasters built by B&M include Fury 325 at Carowinds, Banshee at Kings Island, and Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Chance Rides is that obscure cousin you only hear about once or twice. They haven't done anything wrong, you think, but they just don't come up that often. For now, at least. This manufacturer was founded in 1961 and has been sold and has acquired multiple other companies since then. It has manufactured a few small-scale family rides and trailer-pulled fairground coasters, but it wasn't until more recently that they started to make some larger-scale installations. They are most notable for making steel roller coasters. After acquiring D.H. Morgan Manufacturing in 2001, this manufacturer went on to build Superman El Último Escape at Six Flags Mexico. This company has a history of acquiring smaller manufacturers and then going bankrupt, and finally being revived again. More recently, this manufacturer has gained some notoriety for its Hyper GTX model. This model features plenty of airtime and very forceful layouts with a design that feels somewhat similar to the RMC design philosophy. This has also helped with the fact that their designer, Joe Draves, is also designing coasters for RMC now since Alan Schilke has recently retired. The track design of coasters built by Chance Rides is almost a carbon copy of track that you can find on rides designed by the defunct Aero Developments, but feature more rounded cross ties. The most notable coaster of theirs is Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom. I think it's time we all gave Chance Rides a chance to enter our hearts? I don't know. But with the design philosophy of their coasters, I think it would be amazing to see the potential of what more large-scale installations from this manufacturer could look like. Gerstlauer is a company most well known for their Eurofighter model. This German manufacturer was founded in 1982 by Hubert Gerstlauer, who is a former employee under Anton Schwarzkopf. At first, this company supplied pneumatic equipment to Schwarzkopf, but later breached into the amusement industry themselves. Coasters designed by Gerstlauer tend to feature layouts that are very compact and not too expensive for small to medium-sized parks to own. The Eurofighter model, which is a compact roller coaster design that features drops that go beyond 90 degrees, are often lower capacity attractions that are incredibly forceful. Some examples of these would be Adrenaline Peak at Oaks Amusement Park and Mystery Mine at Dollywood. In order to solve the potential problem of low-capacity ridership, Gerstlauer introduced the Infinity Coaster. Gerstlauer Infinity Coasters, such as Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm, feature longer trains with 4-across seating, which can carry up to 16 riders per train. Another common model of Gerstlauer coasters is their Family Coaster. This isn't as commonly seen in the US as it is elsewhere, but one notable example of this would be Fire Chaser Express at Dollywood. A final common model of theirs would be the Spinning model. This is commonly found at Six Flags parks with the name of Pandemonium, such as the one at Six Flags New England. Most track-on coasters built by this company has a truss-like design in a triangular shape very similar to Mach Ride's and Intiman track. More on that later. This is honestly the most complicated way to spot the differences, so why not pay attention to the layout? Does it feature a vertical lift hill and a beyond vertical drop? Might be a Gerstlauer. Do the trains feature 4-across seating alongside this? Might be a Gerstlauer. Is the layout full of inversions on a small plot of land? You've probably got yourself a Gerstlauer. Currently, Gerstlauer has built coasters that both hold the record for the world's steepest drop, as well as the most inversions on a single roller coaster. The steepest drop can be found on Takabisha at Fuji-Q Highland, and the most inversions on a single coaster can be found on the Smiler at Alton Towers. Starting with our first wooden roller coaster manufacturer is Gravity Group. This company is based out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and was founded in 2002. This company was started by the engineering team from the former Custom Coasters International. Their first installation was Hades at Mount Olympus, which opened in 2005. Gravity Group is one of the only modern manufacturers to include inversions on wooden roller coasters. Coasters built by Gravity Group often feature layouts that include a lot of variety. This is a manufacturer that can be harder to spot, in all honesty. One thing they do often feature is straight drops and very steeply banked turns, which don't feature side railing on the upper portion of the track. Another feature of their attractions is the fact that Gravity Group coasters are often very smooth, at least initially. This smoothness has led to them being a popular choice for amusement parks to retrack old wooden coasters, in cases where the park doesn't want any significant changes to the layout. Another notable feature of wooden coasters built by Gravity Group are their Timberliner trains. These trains are easy to spot with their laterally rounded restraints and the metal frame around the top of the seats. These trains are designed to navigate sharp turns and quick transitions. Some of this manufacturer's most notable installations include Voyage at Holiday World, Mindblower at Fun Spot America, and Ravine Flyer 2 at Waldameer. Great Coasters International, based in Pennsylvania, is our second manufacturer of wooden roller coasters. Established in 1994, GCI was formed by two men, one who was the former designer for the defunct CCI. Their first installation was Wildcat at Hershey Park, which opened in 1996. Wooden coasters are harder to differentiate between manufacturers, so the best way to figure it out is by layout style, train design, or potentially both. One other rare aspect is the track. More on that later. Coasters built by GCI often have layouts filled with tight twists and turns, and often pass over or under other elements of the layout. One other feature seen on some of their coasters is a station flyby. This is when part of the track actually passes right above the loading platform to build anticipation for oncoming riders. Coasters built by GCI very commonly feature a curved first drop as well. A final unique part of many GCI-built coasters is their trains. These trains, also known as Millennium Flyers, feature two across seating and are designed to navigate the tight transitions their courses often feature. Their trains were inspired by similarly designed coaster trains on wooden coasters of old. The individual cars feature enhanced cushions that make for a significantly more comfortable ride experience. Lately, GCI has unveiled both Titan Track and their new Infinity Flyer trains in conjunction with Skyline attractions. The new Titan Track is a weld-free steel track that is designed to replace existing wooden track and provide for a much smoother experience. The redesigned Infinity Flyers were designed to be capable of traversing through inversions and potentially even tighter elements, while placing great focus on rider comfort. Just recently, Zambezi Zinger at Worlds of Fun opened featuring both Titan Track and the new Infinity Flyer trains. It will be interesting to see what other installations see both of these new innovations. Some examples of notable wooden coasters built by GCI include Mystic Timbers at Kings Island, Lightning Racer at Hershey Park, and Thunderhead at Dollywood. Now let's move on to the cool kids on the block. Well, in this case, Intiman.
Howdy do, fellow kids.
What?
Intiman as a manufacturer has been around for about 56 years. This Swiss company has designed roller coasters, flat rides, water rides, drop towers, and more since 1967. They were part of the huge push during the coaster wars in the early aughts and paved the way for many different advancements in amusement ride technology. One common theme in the amusement industry, however, is that with innovation comes problems. This isn't necessarily a rule, but it is a very common expectation. During the coaster wars, Intiman played the game of trying to introduce as much new technology as possible and push the limits of what thrill rides could do. One example of this is the use of the cable lift on rides like Millennium Forest at Cedar Point. Intiman developed this cable lift in an attempt to speed up the ascent and also help with capacity. One problem with this is that unlike a typical chain lift which can engage with the train at any point, a cable dog has to be at the bottom of the lift hill in order for the train to engage with it. This leads to a lengthy reset process where, after lifting a train up to the top of the lift, the cable dog has to return back to its original position at the bottom of the lift hill. Rides like Sky Rush at Hershey Park take great advantage of this system with the fact that they're able to pull the train up the lift at an incredibly fast speed. One caveat to this is that as time has gone on, other roller coaster manufacturers have caught up with lift hill speed with the development of stronger motors, almost nullifying the need for cable lift hills. Still, it is common to find these mechanisms on larger Intamin coasters. One other favorite of Intamin is launching coasters. Rides like King Dukas Six Flags Great Adventure, the former Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, and Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm. These rides all fall into the Intiman accelerator model and are plagued with reliability issues. This is because of the highly complex hydraulic launching system present on these coasters, which feature a ton of moving parts and lots of inconsistency in their function. Due to their unreliability, Intiman saw a steep decline in the 2010s in sales, at least in the US, for their launched models. Once 2019 rolled around, Hagrid's motorbike adventure at Universal Studios Islands of Adventure spelled the turning of a new leaf for Intiman. This was when Intiman stopped using the hydraulic launch system and instead uses the more popular and reliable launching method of LSMs, or linear synchronous motors. Soon after this, we saw incredibly popular installations such as Velocicoaster at the same park and Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. These newer coasters also display a slight change in design philosophy felt all across the amusement industry. You see, when the manufacturer Rocky Mountain Construction came around, they redefined what roller coaster design needed to look like, and this inspired other manufacturers to experiment with new elements and new ways to twist and bend track in previously unconventional ways. Now, how do you spot an Intiman? Well, on their older coasters, it is common to see a truss-like design. This track style features a triangular shape that often morphs into a square shape during higher stress moments of their respective rides. More modern Intiman track looks very similar to the track style common on other manufacturers, with a more pronounced tubular spine, with the smaller rails positioned at varying angles to the side and above this spine. One other common sight is to see what looks like a second spine underneath the first one, which is designed to provide even more structural rigidity to high-stress sections of track. During low-stress moments of rides, this extra spine often does not exist. Something of note, Intiman coasters tend to swing to the more expensive side, which is why they are not common at smaller theme parks. Some of the most notable Intiman coasters include Millennium Force at Cedar Point, Maverick at the same park, King Dakar at Six Flags Great Adventure, as well as the prefabricated wooden roller coaster El Toro, also at Six Flags Great Adventure. Finally, there's Batman Gotham City Escape at Parque Warner Madrid. This last one is a really good example of one of their more modern designs. So you like wild mice? You like horse-drawn carriages? So I called Intiman old, but Mack Rides is a dinosaur standing next to the geriatric Intiman. This German manufacturer was founded over 243 years ago and started out with making carriages and stagecoaches. Their earliest roller coasters were often powered coasters and wild mice starting back in the 1980s and 90s. Mack Rides was and still is the most popular manufacturer of modern steel wild mice coasters, which are small-scale roller coasters that feature many tight turns designed to inflict high lateral G-forces on riders. On the larger scale, Mack Rides also has coasters such as their custom launch coasters, family and extreme spinning coasters, and their Big Dipper model. They even have a few water coaster models as well. Mack Rides track often looks very similar to Intiman and Gerstlauer track in that it frequently has a truss-like triangular shape to it. Telling the difference between Gerstlauer, Mack Rides, and Intiman coasters can be pretty difficult, but there is one way to do this just by track alone. It's important to pay attention to the cross ties and the areas where the supports meet the track. On coasters built by Mack Rides, there is a solid infill where the support meets the spine that fills in the gap inside the triangular shape. For rides built by Intiman, the support seems to feature a large beam that cuts straight through the track vertically until it splits into a smaller quadrilateral shape that meets both rails. Gerstlauer track has two larger legs that sit somewhat outside of the truss-like structure and meet at the bottoms of the cross ties next to the rails. One other way to spot Mack Rides track quickly is the spine. On high-stress moments of Mack Rides coasters, there is an elongated spine on the base of the track that is somewhat in an oval shape. Other than this, you can try to look at the train design, which can sometimes be a bit more difficult to spot. Often, trains on Mack Rides coasters have seats that look like they are raised quite high off the platform of the bottom of the train. If it isn't a Mack Rides mega coaster or a launch coaster, like Blue Fire at Europa Park, it may be easier to spot. If it's a wild mouse, there's a good chance that it is a Mack Rides, although some parks do have wild mice coasters built by other manufacturers. If it's a spinning coaster, look at the shape of the cars. Mack Rides family spinning coasters, such as Sierra Sidewinder at Knott's Berry Farm, have dome-shaped cars that face riders away from each other. This manufacturer is also the only manufacturer to make something along the lines of the extreme spinning coaster. Take Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City. This coaster features spinning cars on a layout that also features inversions. Talk about pure insanity. Another interesting addition to Mack Rides attractions is the fact that they own their own theme park, Europa Park. This amusement park is like a roller coaster designer's toy box in that the company has the privilege of experimenting with different ride designs before attempting to sell them to other parks. Large-scale attractions from mock rides tend to be more expensive and fit the role of like a BMW. They're reliable, long-lasting, had humble roots, and continue to be a strong force in the amusement industry. Some of their most notable attractions are Ride to Happiness at Plopsaland Japan, DC Rivals Hypercoaster at Warner Bros. Movie World, and Aquaman Power Wave at Six Flags Over Texas. Now on to Maurer. Maurer? I'm gonna try my best on this one. As a manufacturer, Maurer has made some pretty large-scale attractions, but they aren't all that popular. Based in Germany, again, Maurer was founded in 1876 and started out making Wild Mice coasters. Their first installation, however, was Venus GP at Space World, which opened in 1996. Their Wild Mice coasters are not as common as the ones made by Mock Rides, but they are still present at a lot of parks. For instance, Wild Mouse at Dorney Park was built by Maurer. This manufacturer has seemed to somewhat struggle to gain any major prominence at large theme parks, and instead manufactures coasters that are often installed at smaller parks. One notable clone design of theirs is the X-Car coasters, such as X-Coaster at Magic Springs Theme and Water Park. These new trains were designed to navigate tighter transitions and be able to stay upside down for far longer through a ride's course. Maurer is trying to make a comeback with their powered Spike coaster. This model is a single rail coaster that is powered for most of the layout and sometimes allows riders to control the speed of the car itself. One notable example of this is Desmo Race at Mirabilandia. It'll be interesting to see if this company can ever gain prominence with their newer designs. An easy way to distinguish Maurer coasters is by their cars and sometimes their track. The Spike coaster has an incredibly unique track that is a single rail. For their X coasters, look at the shape of the cars on the train. If it has 3 rows of 2 seats, each with restraints that have very rounded lap bars and flat panels on the very front of the train, then you're probably looking at a Maurer. Using their track alone can be difficult since it features track very similar in design to the manufacturer named Schwarzkopf, but with some slight variations. More on that later. So far, this company is one of the youngest I'll be talking about today. Premier Rides was founded in 1996 and debuted their first coaster, Runaway Mountain at Six Flags Over Texas, in the same year. This coaster is the first and only coaster built by them to utilize a standard lift hill. Premier Rides was the first manufacturer to use LIMs, or linear induction motors, to launch their coasters. Their first launch coaster is Flight of Fear at Kings Island, which is an indoor coaster as well. Older coasters built by Premier Rides commonly feature layouts that can best be described as a spaghetti bowl, such as Joker's Jinx at Six Flags America. This coaster features the same layout as Flight of Fear, but without the building enclosing it. Moving on, we have the Skyrocket 2 model. There are 3 different models of Skyrocket design, but the second iteration is the most prominent. Tigress at Busch Gardens Tampa is one of these. These newer coasters feature new trains that slightly resemble the X-Car trains from Maurer, but are much narrower and often feature the nightmarish... What's that? I'm sorry, what? Speak louder! Comfort callers! Coaster enthusiasts often complain about these restraints due to the fact that they can cause a lot of discomfort during quick transitions. To mention the other versions of the Skyrocket model, we have Skyrocket at Kennywood, which is considered a Skyrocket 1 model. For the Skyrocket 3 model, we have Full Throttle at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Other than the train design, it seems like the layout is what informs this naming scheme for these ride types. These more modern designs have LSM launches instead of the older LIM launching mechanisms due to their enhanced efficiency and launching potential. The track on coasters designed by Premier Rides look very similar to track designed by Schwarzkopf, so it may be easier to just pay attention to the design of the trains. The trains used by Premier Rides currently feature 3 rows of 2 across seating and feature a flat piece of body running parallel with the riders. Their new-gen trains are often short, featuring only 2 or 3 cars. Older coasters designed by this company have a signature dome on the front and a lap bar which features a metal extension above the foam lap restraint. One other unique feature of these trains is the metal flag plates on the side of the trains. These flag plates are what the LIMs come close to launch the coaster into the course. Later, I'm going to discuss what the differences are in the track designs for all of these that are really similar to the Schwarzkopf, so don't worry. Some notable coasters built by Premier Rides include West Coast Racers at Six Flags Magic Mountain, Icebreaker at SeaWorld Orlando, and Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast at Six Flags St. Louis. Next up is S&S Sansei.
Disappointed!
Oh, come on, they're cool, right?
You suck!
S&S Sansei are the airheads of the coaster manufacturing world. No, really, their claim to fame that gave them a rise to prominence was the air launch. This Utah-based manufacturer was founded in 1994 by Stan Checketts and his wife, Sandy. They started out by manufacturing bungee jumping and trampoline equipment, and later moved on to air-powered flat rides, such as their drop tower models. Over the years, S&S has acquired multiple companies, with the most notable ones including Aero Developments and Vekoma. With their retention of the Aero patents, S&S is the main supplier for replacement parts and maintenance for most of the coasters built by Aero in the US. Their first major coasters were their air-powered launch coasters. This includes the defunct Hypersonic XLC, formerly at King's Dominion, and the currently standing but not operating Dodonpa at Fuji-Q Highland. Both of these coasters utilize pressurized air to propel their trains at incredibly high speeds. Another company that S&S acquired the assets to was CCI. After this, they opened a small division dedicated to building wooden roller coasters. Timberhawk Ride of Prey at Wild Waves is one example of this. After a short period of time, S&S closed down this department and continued focusing on making steel roller coasters. Due to the fact that they own as much as they do, S&S produces a large variety of coasters. For instance, they have a popular model known as the El Loco, which is what you get when you make a Wild Mouse much more intense and give it inversions. Another very common model of theirs today is the 4D free spin model, such as Joker at Six Flags Great Adventure. These roller coasters provide a lot of thrills in a very small plot of land. Their tracks are square, calling to the fact that this track is manufactured by Rocky Mountain Construction. This model proved to be incredibly popular among the Six Flags chain and saw an additional 6 installations. These rides feature freely spinning seats to the size of the track, which is also very reminiscent of the Fourth Dimension coaster initially designed by Aero. Early on, S&S took the Fourth Dimension coaster model and built Dinoconda at China Dinosaurs Park and Ijunaika at Fuji-Q Highland. These ride models are insane and provide a very disorienting experience for riders. S&S has not abandoned their roots and continues to manufacture compressed air launch coasters to this day. To put it lightly, S&S as a manufacturer is one that attempts a lot of different designs and attempts to innovate on every front. This can be seen in the prototype Axis coaster. It feels like as of late, at least in US markets, S&S has seen some declining sales, but that could also be part of a strategy in which S&S frees up space for their subsidiary Vekoma to do some major installations here, while S&S focuses internationally. Only time will tell on this front. Some other notable installations by S&S include Steel Curtain at Kennywood, Gale Force at Playland's Castaway Cove, and El Loco at Adventure Dome. Coming from the land of the giants is a manufacturer that was a giant once, then fell from grace and has come back swinging. Founded in the 1950s, Vekoma got their start manufacturing farm equipment and then steel constructions for the coal mining industry. In the 1970s, Vekoma was contracted by Aero to build steel structures for their roller coasters in Europe. After being contracted, Vekoma was hooked. Like a fresh slice of cinnamon bread from Dollywood. Hey there, Think Park Crazy. Vekoma just couldn't stop going. In an interesting twist, they effectively stole the patented track design of aero coasters and started going wild, building their own installations worldwide. Their most popular model was the Boomerang model, which saw 53 installations across the globe. This short, compact layout provided extreme thrills and multiple inversions that was affordable for many medium and large-scale amusement parks. From here, Vekoma continued to experiment with different ride models, such as the Flying Dutchman model, which positioned riders in a laying down position to give the sensation of flying. Other notable models from them include their family coasters of old, including their suspended family coasters, such as Dragonflyer at Dollywood. It should also be mentioned that Vekoma is responsible for hurting several people with their suspended looping coaster model, or SLC. These inverted coasters were always rough and uncomfortable. Let's just say I'm glad that they aren't made anymore.
Bye, Felicia.
From about 2008 to 2020, there wasn't a ton of notable large investments that many US-based theme parks were making towards Vekoma, except Disney. This changed more recently after multiple parks such as Dollywood, Kings Island, Codaland, and more really started to warm up to the idea of Vekoma. This also comes on the heels of the company being acquired by S&S. Vekoma was seeing larger and larger investments from more parks worldwide as their newer design philosophies came to light. Gone were the days of old and rough coasters with aero-like track. Nowadays, Vekoma, like many previously mentioned manufacturers, features tracks similar to that of Schwarzkopf. Their tracks are twisted in ways deemed impossible in the early 2000s and provide thrilling, compact, and forceful layouts. A specific area that Vekoma is excelling at right now is with family coasters. In 2024 alone, there will be 6 new installations of their family Boomerang model. Another new exciting development is their Super Boomerang design. So far, there has already been 1 installation of these and 1 coming in 2024 as well. Other notable and more modern installations from Vekoma include Fly at Phantasialand, Abyssus at Energylandia, and Phoenix at Farup Sommerland. So yeah, Vekoma got good? Now on to... Zamperla.
Unacceptable!
Okay, I swear this is the last manufacturer I talk about in this video with a track design like Schwarzkopf. Zamperla, how unexpected. So, Zamperla has the chance of morphing from the Honda Civic that they used to be into the Ferrari, at least of the amusement industry. Possibly. If not them, then they'll at least be the Casorso Machine Agricole Company. You know, making lawnmowers. Zamperla is an Italian coaster manufacturer and was founded in 1966. For the longest time, Zamperla has held a strong focus on smaller, easily reproduced family coasters. If your home park has a very small kiddie coaster, there's a good chance that it may be a Zamperla. These models are incredibly common and not difficult to find at many large theme parks across the globe. More recently, they've designed larger attractions such as Thunderbolt at Luna Park and Time Warp at Canada's Wonderland. While not huge, these point towards a slightly increased focus on larger attractions. Similar to Mock Rides, Zamperla also owns their own amusement park and uses it as their own personal testing grounds for different ride models, which is Luna Park in New York. Here, they've installed multiple coasters of their own creation to see how crowds enjoy them. Hopefully, this will help them realize that the Volair model is a bad idea and should mercilessly be tossed in a fire, never to be seen again. Listen, Volair models, go away. We don't like you. You cage us up like farm animals and throw us around recklessly. Enough is enough. Goodbye.
You are fired! Now you test subject, you're doing fine. Yes, you. Box your stuff. Out the front door. Parking lot. Car. Goodbye.
Talking about recent developments, Zamperla has turned a new leaf and seems to have the desire to enter the big leagues. They are playing it safe, arguably, but with the unveiling of their new Lightning trains at IAAPA in 2023, it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. They've got 2 new projects in the works, both of which are attempts at reviving 2 former Intiman coasters. This includes what used to be Senza Fiato at Miragica and the former Top Thrill dragster. The former is going to PNE Playland in Vancouver, British Columbia, and the latter is an extension to Top Thrill dragster at Cedar Point. These new trains look to fit alongside new-gen Intiman trains and mock rides trains, so it'll be interesting to see if they can prove themselves. I fear that this could be their only chance to impress larger amusement parks, but only time will tell. I, for one, am hopeful they succeed, as it would be nice to see yet another competitor in the big leagues. So guess where Zero is from? Yeah, another German manufacturer. And what's this? A manufacturer that specializes in small to medium scale family coasters?
Daring today, aren't we?
This manufacturer was founded in 1930 and got their start in the amusement industry with their first coaster, Linie 88 at Bakken. This coaster fits right along with their current lineup in that it is a Tivoli model. These models are their family coasters, both new and old. There isn't a ton of variation in their layouts other than a few installations here and there, such as Vogelweid's Sepp at Die Rodelbahn St. Engelmar. They do have some other notable attractions which utilize track very similar to the Intiman triangular truss-like track, like on Verbolten at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, Wicked at Lagoon, and Impulse at Knoebels. Other than that, there hasn't been many recent developments to imply that this manufacturer is going to be doing anything different for the time being. Coasters built by Zero aren't super popular at major theme parks, but it also isn't incredibly uncommon to come across a few here and there on your travels. On to the conclusion. I forgot something. What do you mean I'm forgetting something? Of course I'm not. Yes, you are. Wait, really? You want me to talk about them? Yeah. Fine. Rocky Mountain Construction. This is arguably the favorite coaster manufacturer of roller coaster enthusiasts today. Founded in 2001, this piece of Pacific Northwest pride effectively redefined coaster design philosophy as soon as they started making their own coasters. You see, in the beginning, God said, "Let there be Alan Schilke." Then he gave Alan Schilke a pen and paper and commanded him to design the best roller coasters seen by man. This company got their start acting as a contractor for larger manufacturers such as CCI to install roller coasters located at Silverwood Theme Park. They also acted as a contractor which installed this park's water rides as well. In 2009, when Alan Schilke left S&S and joined RMC, himself and RMC founder Fred Grubb designed what is now known as iBox Track. This unconventionally designed steel track was set to start a revolution. Six Flags Over Texas was the first park to take a chance on them with New Texas Giant. This coaster is a hybrid conversion of the former Texas Giant. So what does it mean to be a hybrid? Well, if your coaster is made of large amounts of steel and wood, that's a hybrid. Oh, and it gets really good fuel economy too. By keeping most of the existing wooden support structure, but modifying the layout in key areas, RMC created a brand new experience out of the Texas Giant and sent waves throughout the amusement industry. This ride provided a forceful experience at an extremely low cost and revitalized a previously unpopular wooden roller coaster at the park. Left and right, Six Flags has continued to invest in new additions from RMC on an almost yearly basis. What makes RMCs so popular is their smoothness and their out-of-control feeling. Who says you always have to bank into a turn? RMC sure doesn't. How about going over a hill at high speed while turning right, and banking out of the turn? So not only are you flung straight up out of your seat, but also to the left. With these coasters, it is their goal to have you out of your seat as much as possible. Fun fact, did you know that RMC gets inspiration for their designs by going out to the desert and driving around on mountain bike trails? Paying attention to their layouts, it may be pretty easy to see this. After a while, Rocky Mountain Construction designed their newer single-rail coaster. This saw its first installation with Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This Raptor coaster featured a single, squared rail that sits on a very small plot of land and provides an incredibly intense layout. This model has seen a much smaller amount of additions, with 5 current installations, and at least one upcoming. So if the track is brightly colored steel on wooden supports, it's an RMC. If there's only one rail and it's square, and also featuring a pretty extreme layout, it's most likely an RMC. I don't care who you are, if you haven't experienced the thrills of an RMC, I'm sorry, but you're missing out.
He's right. Do you know that?
That was a lot. There is one detail I haven't touched on yet that I wanted to talk about here. How do you tell the difference in track designs for all of those manufacturers that have this Schwarzkopf-inspired track? Well, starting with Premier Rides, their track has a couple of different designs. On their older coasters, it features a large center spine with flat cross ties, which feature a small gap in the center. Newer track from Premier has a more equilateral triangular shape that often features an elongated spine during high-stress moments of their rise. Moving on to the Coma, these often have a taller profile. These are also in a triangular shape, and it isn't uncommon to find a cutout in the middle of the cross tie, or even a larger dip to give room to the undercarriage of the train. These cross ties have a pronounced flat top that the lower cross tie supports do not form a perfect triangle with. Comparing this with S&S track, it is a very pronounced triangular shape all throughout a ride's course. Moving on, we have Zamperla, which looks a lot like the Coma track specifically, but the cross tie supports are far thicker, and rather than there being space in the middle of their triangular shape, it is completely filled in. Finally, there's Mauer. The main spine is much lower below the track and features a U-shaped, somewhat flat cross tie design with some lateral, triangular shapes on the sides of these cross ties, providing additional support. Oh wait, hold on, never mind. They mimic Premier Ride's track design. Okay, I don't even know how to describe this. Okay, I give up. I give up. Alright, that's it. Okay. Who the heck knows what Mauer is doing? I want to preface this again. This list is not completely comprehensive and really only includes the more common, current manufacturers of roller coasters today. In a couple of different upcoming videos, I'll discuss defunct manufacturers and smaller, less well-known manufacturers. There are other manufacturers that I have not mentioned here that I may talk about in a later video. Be on the lookout. I have 2 other videos about who makes roller coasters coming soon that delve into defunct manufacturers and less noteworthy manufacturers. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like and comment below and hit that bell icon to be notified of our upcoming uploads. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters Nathan Martin and Future Collective. $1 a month helps me bring even more content to you guys, and I even have some exclusive content coming, so check it out. Check the description below to find links to our pages on Instagram, Patreon, and more. Thanks for watching the video, and ride on, Coaster Maniacs.